So in the first episode, I told you guys that you should check out Ozark, Sons of Anarchy, Peaky Blinders, Vikings, and Mad Men. It's time for part 2 of shows that you should be watching while you're stuck in your house due to COVID-19. In this episode, I'm going to give you 5 more that are a bit different than that first selection. Number 1, Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was one of the most popular white people shows of all time. When I say white people shows, I'm talking about those shows that your white friends never shut the hell up about, like Game of Thrones, The Wire, The Sopranos, Deadwood. Breaking Bad is the story of Walter White, a seemingly ordinary teacher and a chemist who gets cancer. Now, when he finds out that he has cancer, he just happens to go on a ride-along with his DEA agent brother-in-law, Hank. While he's out, he sees a bust, and one of his former students named Jesse Pinkman escapes the bust. So Walt decides, that if he's going to die of cancer, he's going to make as much money as he can to leave it to his family so that they're taken care of when he dies. Now, of course, if this show was made in Canada or France or the UK or any other place that has, accessible healthcare for anybody, this show would have been 1 or 2 episodes long. But because this show is made in America where the healthcare system is a fucking nightmare, it lasts a long while. The show basically tracked Walter White and Jesse Pinkman's criminal career from the start all the way up into the end. It's packed with a bunch of cliffhangers and surprises that you won't see coming, tons of amazing characters, great reveals, a good storyline, and an evolution of a character that, depending on your moral compass, you either really like or you really dislike. So I highly recommend you check out Breaking Bad for that reason. Number 2, Better Call Saul. I'm just going to throw this out there, feel free to at me if you like, but Better Call Saul, which is a prequel to Breaking Bad, is actually a much better show than Breaking Bad was. Why is that? The cinematography is better, the editing is better, the story is more nuanced, there are more layered characters in it. There are a lot more reveals and surprises and stuff like that because it's not your typical anti-hero story, and arguably Saul, aka Jimmy, is a much more sympathetic character. A lot of times he is just trying to do the right thing and the world is going against him. Much like Walter White in Breaking Bad, he's often underestimated and he comes out on top with his intelligence and his guile. It's a pretty amazing character study. A lot of the lighting and the story beats and the way that they do the show is noir, and it's also one of the best shows ever made when it comes to show not tell. There's so many things on this series that they reveal with just visuals and not having to tell you anything. It really rewards intelligent viewers. If you're a dummy, you're probably not going to like the show, to be honest, because there's going to be a lot of things that go right over your head. Not only does it show how Saul Goodman came to be, it also shows the rise of Tuco and many of the other great characters from Breaking Bad. And of course, we also get to see how Mike went from being a law-abiding citizen and former cop to Gustavo's right-hand man. So do yourself a favor and watch the first few seasons of Better Call Saul and see why I think it's better than Breaking Bad. Number 3, Money Heist. La Casa de Papel, or Money Heist as it's better known around the world, is a show about a heist basically, but it's much more than that. This show actually almost got canceled after its first season. Then Netflix picked it up, put it on their platform, and it quickly became one of the most popular shows in the history of the streaming service. It's so popular that a group of refugees whose boat sank, once they were rescued and brought onto another ship, they started dancing and singing the spiritual theme song of the show, Bella Ciao. The show follows a group of thieves named after different cities, much like Reservoir Dogs had their colors. They're led by the professor, who is a brilliant strategist and logistical genius. The show can be really heavy-handed with a melodrama, but it actually works in its favor. It gets you really invested in these characters. It's one of the most stylish and cinematic shows you will ever watch. The costumes that the characters wear have become a symbol of rebellion all over the world. It's basically not just a show, it's a cultural phenomenon, and you shouldn't watch it just because of that. Who cares about that? Is the show any good? I'm telling you right now, the show is amazing. Every time you think the crew is going down or someone's going to get hurt or whatever, you find out through flashbacks, much like Lost, that they actually prepared for these scenarios with the professor. So every once in a while something happens that they didn't plan for. It really gets you nervous. You sit there biting your nails and you worry for this crew, which is crazy because obviously they're a bunch of criminals. But much like the civilian onlookers in this show, you'll be rooting for these criminals and hoping that they can succeed in their heist. Netflix has a ton of shows from overseas, and a lot of them are fantastic, and this is one of those shows. So I definitely think you should check it out if you're looking for something fun and not necessarily very violent. Number 4, Fargo. I gotta be honest, when Fargo was announced, I was not looking forward to it, because how do you follow up the movie done by the Coen brothers, which is a classic? But I must say, they definitely have nailed the tone, they've definitely nailed the dark comedy, the pacing, the amazing characters. It has its own personality, and all 3 seasons and the 4th coming soon are different times, different places, but they all tie together in one way or another. The cast is just stacked with fantastic acting. Even though you're dealing with a bunch of local yokels, they're never played as dumb. There's a lot of intelligence in them. And of course you have the bad guys, some that are local and some that come from the outside. And these are amazing villains that you really will enjoy. So if you enjoy dark humor, if you enjoy the more lighthearted films of the Coen brothers, we're not talking No Country for Old Men. Well, technically we kind of are. This is if No Country for Old Men had a little ray of hope and some comedy in it. Number 5, Black Sails. A lot of people slept on Black Sails. They didn't watch it because they were burnt out on Pirates of the Caribbean, and I understand that. I, of course, watched it because it's actually a prequel to Treasure Island. Now, if you read the original Treasure Island, you know that it was pretty gritty, it was pretty dark, it had deaths, it had violence, unlike a lot of the stuff that you've seen from Disney, including their adaptation of Treasure Island. Think Game of Thrones with pirates, and that's what you get when you watch this show. There's not as many characters, and it's not as convoluted, and it actually ends in a pretty great way, unlike Game of Thrones and Dexter and Lost. This show actually rewards its viewers, unlike those other shows which punish their fan base for believing in the series. You've got great acting, a lot of good side stories that all tie in together, especially by the end of the series, and it all leads up very nicely to the story of Treasure Island. A lot of the cast went on to star in a bunch of great shows and movies because they really showed what they can do in this series. So if you're looking for a great adventure with good violence and sex and all that stuff that people like to watch, it's not pirates for kids, it's pirates for adults, which is what pirates should be. So if you haven't checked out Black Sails, I have one question for you. What are you waiting for? Yes, I know this one's all over the place. We've got homicidal Midwesterners, pirates, drug dealers, you name it, but they're all fun to watch. If you guys like the previous list or this list, let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. If you don't like it or there's other shows I should be talking about, again, let me know down there. I hope you guys are digging the list that I'm putting out for you. I'm really putting an effort into picking stuff that I think everybody would like. I'm not focusing on family stuff right now because the kids have a million things that they can be watching, and they're going to have their preferences, and they're usually going to watch the same things over and over again. You know, have them watch Studio Ghibli or some of the more educational things, and they'll be all right. But for now, again, I'm going to focus on the grown-ups because we need to keep our sanity and we need to watch interesting things, read books, play games, listen to music so that we don't go crazy and our kids and the people around us don't suffer. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.